Hello, and welcome to the mentorDINO podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Rosier. I am an architect and founder of mentorDINO. Join me each week as I speak with amazing professionals in and around the architecture, engineering, and construction industry, as we are all part of a larger interconnected community. We discuss everything from career stories, lessons learned, and advice for others finding their own unique career path. Thank you to all of our current subscribers, and if you're new, welcome to the conversation. And if you like this episode, please do me a favor by hitting subscribe, like, or share it with a friend. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support them on their own unique career journey. On today's episode of the mentorDINO podcast, I would like to welcome Luciana Triplett, owner and architect of Triplett Studio in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you, Luciana, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
So I always start out with my loaded question. If you don't mind introducing yourself to my listeners to let them know a little bit about your experience and journey so far in your education career.
All right, sounds good. All right, as you said, I'm Luciana Triplett. I'm a Brazilian architect in Massachusetts. I own Triplett Studio, and we do residential and commercial projects, small commercial projects here. And my focus is usually wellness and biophilic design, and in general creating spaces that uplift the experience of architecture. This is my passion, I could say that. My journey has been a long one. I'm going to try to summarize. I've been living in the country for 25 years. I came here as an architect already. Right, I graduated in Brazil and my bachelor's. So when I initially came, I wasn't sure I was going to study architecture. I actually had a friend that was living here that invited me to come spend some time with her. So I was studying at Harvard Entrepreneurship School. I took some English classes and also it was like business classes at that time. So if I had like I think it was 8 at the time, I would have a certificate at the end in business. But then I found out about the Boston Architecture College, which completely changed my life because what I love about the um, studying there was that they offer the opportunity to work in the field. So it's part of the curriculum that you, at the same time you're going to school, which was at night, you also have to have the practical curriculum filled out by the hours of working a firm. So, like my boss was my supervisor, and every 6 months you have to write a whole like you know they have all this question what do you learn and the connection between the practical environment with the educational one. It's very interesting, and he would score how I did, which also helped me to collect the hours for the AIE, was kind of really helpful too. So that's how when I found out about it, it's like, oh, this is a great opportunity to not just uh, study, which I always want to do my master's. I thought I was gonna go to Spain initially, but once I found out about it, it's like, oh, this is excellent. And I fell in love with Boston too. I have to admit, when I came, I knew the winter was brutal. I would walk in the street like layers and layers of coats, and it was oh my gosh. I remember I couldn't keep my mouth shut because I would shake so much. Like it was ridiculous. Like when I first got here, because I came from a city in Brazil that's so hot. Like there's no winter there, so the winter is
Yeah.
pretty much rainy season. So I never experienced winter before. I had to put like 2 layers of underpants. Oh, yeah, it looked like I was going to space because my coats were so big and heavy.
Like,
Anyway,
can't put your arms down.
but I got used to it. That's a funny thing. I adapted, and after living a few years, of course, you back to normal. So I can say that. So I love the time I went to the BC. It took a little longer because some of the classes that I had, like when they compare your curriculum to the ones I had in Brazil, they had to say, "Oh, you're missing this and this." So I had to kind of adjust in the beginning, and then there was to write a thesis proposal and like the whole year of just doing focus on that. Um, but the thing that happened, I met my current husband during the time I was going to the VAC. He was studying there too. We worked in the same building, different office, but we used to see each other all the time because of that. We had lunch together and go to school together. So yeah, so married since then. And that's when I realized like everything that when I was studying, it was so different here. So starting my career here was a challenge because you have the experience of being licensed from another country, but you get here is like, oh, everything's different. The way the you build here, the construction, like the methods of construction, it's all about the winter also has a huge impact, in how you build. Because in Brazil, it's all about ventilation, cross ventilation, and shading, and we use brick and never used wood to build before. So it's kind of like I felt lost. Um, but I was lucky to have a great teacher. One of the classes I was taking there, I think it was building technology, construction methods, something like that. The name of the class.
Hmm.
Um, so I was one of those students that be sitting in front and getting to class before to ask all the questions because I really want to understand like what am I doing here. And he loved that. He was like, "Oh, she really willing to learn, and grow." So I got excellent grade on his class, and then the second semester he was already invited me to become a TA for his class, which was great. But on top of that, he invited me to interview in his office, and I got the job, and I started working there right in the first semester of the VC, and it was excellent because that's when I kind of really learned so much. It was a mid-sized firm, which was great because I had people that was hired like more senior that could help me, but I also had other people on my level that we could like talk about what we're doing. And then after that, I realized I wanted to have because I was doing mostly residential there, and I spent a few years actually working a big it was like 100 something units for Harvard Commons was a project that was all residential, but a lot of different units, a lot of like kind of different models, but you have to change it up a little bit so they all
Hmm.
different in the colors. And one had beige, the other one did it. Like how it is. Like it's a developer that want to have some architecture there, but also not every single house was going to be unique. So we had
Yeah.
to trick some of them. But I also knew it was like the great thing just to finish up. He was very understanding about the being a student, right? Because sometimes he had to miss uh, like work because we had to presentation or my thesis that was like due, like I had to write a book. So there was a lot of yeah. I don't think a bigger firm would give me what they gave me there, but we were very good about that. So, but I also want to work in a bigger firm, and I had the dream because before I came here, like big dreams. Like I have, like I'm gonna work in the top firms in United States and have this amazing international experience as an architect. So I finished the BC, and the first thing I did was to interview in different firms, and I think I interviewed five different ones, and I got letter offer like offer letters for the five of them, but I chose Stephen Bradley because I thought was the most um like diversified, like in terms of the people working there. Um, so I kind of like that. I like the person that interviewed me. She was a woman, and there was a lot of women there. There was principals. Anyway, I kind of felt inspired by that. But I'm just talking about it because I that's when I got to experience working in healthcare, assisted living project. Actually did a Buddha temple. It was very unique. Like everything I did there was like never done this type of project before. So I loved it. I do not plan like I can tell my life like things happen for a reason. But there was a recession. I don't know if you remember those years,
Hmm.
2008, 2009. So my husband actually got laid off right before me, like at around Thanksgiving, and I was one of them with 35 other people in a conference room, like how they let you know. And I was like, okay, I just found out I was pregnant this week. My second kid. I was like, surprise.
Ugh,
No, it's not fun. I
doubly
do not
surprised.
want to. It was crazy. And it was like, I had a baby too at the same time. So it's like, and I knew daycare was so expensive. And I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? So first thing was cancel daycare. We knew that. But anyways, as I mentioned, things happen for a reason. And I it was a year that was so unique in my life because my dad he had cancer before, but he came back. So he talking about the it makes me emotional. But I was able to be with him the last 3 months of his life, because my mom says like he's not doing well. We were there next day, like there was no question asked. And so it was hard because we looking for job at a distance, pregnant, the whole thing was like a nightmare.
Mhm.
So I realized I had to do something about it, and we started thinking about starting something. My husband and I, and the idea that came to my mind during this experience, I was in Brazil. Again, everything happens for a reason. Was the rendering part because they're doing excellent rendering. The economy down there was booming. It was totally different than when I lived there because it was like all these new buildings coming up, and they had the beautiful rendering. Every project had this amazing like outdoor, and I'm like, wow, they did an excellent job here in terms of the rendering. So I interviewed a few people and I said, hey, let's practice farm together. I'll be there bringing the project and you help me out. So my one of the designers that worked in the firm that I got laid off met me. We met by accident in the store. And she's like, oh, what are you doing? This is after I came back, right? I came back.
Mhm.
That was after my dad passed away. I had my baby here. So my second baby. So and I mentioned to her like, well, I'm starting this 3D firm, and she's like, oh, we need rendering service for this project we're doing for the children's hospital in Peabody. I was like, oh, that could be great. So I okay, I have to say that, but I also had another story that I had to share. So I was going to a lot of small business meetings and things for the city to learn how the state was trying to help people to survive the recession. Um, I think it was called SBA too, Small Business Administration. I don't know. I think it was the same name. And one
Mhm.
of the people that were like, there was a bunch of people teaching like the ideas of, what the kind of business they're opening. And I mentioned my story, and I was like, I can't do architecture now, but I can because I wasn't licensed or anything. But I was like, I can do some service for for architects that I was thinking. And the one of the people there was the Boston, like there was a journal here, the Boston Globe. So
Mhm.
he was a journalist, and he said, "Oh, I like your story. Can I interview you?" I was like, "Okay." And then we were on the cover of the Boston Globe. Like my husband and I, it was so funny because at that time, literally, I did not have an office. We started. I kind of set up the workstation in not upstairs in the attic in the laundry room. Weird. So I was like, asking him to cut the part that was showing the laundry, like and he was like, no, this is great. Everybody starts like that, talking about all the Google people that start in the garage and like all the tech people. I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. It was the reality. We're not planning to open a firm at that time. So yeah, so I was the cover of the the newspaper. But the funny part is everybody calling me was not about hiring me, it was about, are you guys hiring? Like the recession was so bad for our industry at that time. They're like, they want to work from you. I was like, no,
Mhm.
you don't understand. I'm trying to get to work. But out of this, one client, he somebody who used to work at Stephen Brothers, uh, like contact me, and he's like becoming the greatest clients, like always bringing us work, always. So this is what I think. When you do good work, you don't need the thousand clients. It's all about focusing on the ones that are really appreciate you and do good job for them. So our network, my husband also knew people. Everybody that was he worked before started hiring us to do renderings too. So we're doing renderings for schools, for like houses, for all kinds of projects. It was like and we did for Test and Bride, we did also all the projects later for office space. So what helped me a lot, and I tell everybody is like, stay in the business. I always learned. I did not stop learning, even though I wasn't in the office. I was doing my own thing. Actually, I grew so much because I had to learn how to create my logo, a website,
Mm-hmm.
uh, do business meetings, like all the stuff. And I always dealing with the principals there. So that was a sense that was like, I own my firm, you own the firm. So it's like before, it's like I was the draft in the firm. Like now, we're like it was a great experience to be honest. So
Yeah.
yeah, at that time, so then I realized I got one project, and this client, I don't know if I should say his name, but he has a big architecture firm here, and they needed somebody to actually do the interior design for one of his projects. So he knew I do renderings, but he didn't have the project yet. But he wanted to sell the project to his client. Was it
Mm-hmm.
cool? So he asked me if I could design also the spaces and stuff. So I put my soul in that project. I was like, I realized how emotional I got about designing again, and that hit me. It's like, okay, I need to go back to this. I know I could be very successful doing the 3D rendering business and all that, but it was not my passion. I'm a designer. I chose architecture to be a designer, and that's when I realized like I need to get serious about getting licensed, because if I go back to a firm, it'll be like it's not what I wanted to do. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like I want to always want to see have the opportunity to have my vision, and and the design ideas that I have that I care about so deeply. So that's when I got started. I my kids were already like starting kindergarten, so I was like, okay, now they're gonna have a fixed schedule.
Schedule.
You'll see, like it makes a huge difference. Like before, it's like what all over the place, so you never know how much sleep you're gonna get, what's gonna happen. So yeah, that's when I start realize like yeah, I should get a license, because that's the only way. Also, I was working for him, but I start sorry, I forgot to mention it. When I started Triplett Studio initially was the 3D remedy, but I also did a lot of freelance like work for architects that needed the 3D set, like because I knew how
Mm-hmm.
to do that. So my the firm that I worked before, the residential, so
Yeah.
they started hiring me part time and just giving me work. So it's just like here, and he knew I had kids, like young kids, and he was like, do your own time. So it's very flexible. And think about this before COVID. There was none of that before. There was like I remember even to leave a little early to pick up my kid at daycare. It was like people would be looking at me like, "Where are you going?" Like
Mm-hmm.
like they're supposed to work until at least 5:30. And that was a problem before for me. So when I got that opportunity to keep working, doing my own thing, but helping like working in a factory firm without being there, like I could sometimes when the project got a little bigger, he would hire me as a like a part time person, and I would
Mm-hmm.
go twice a week, which wasn't too bad. So I could leave early and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is the thing, we adapt, and I gotta say, my husband did not have the flexibility because he went back to work in a firm. But when COVID happened, everything changed. So he was finally home and was able to help me to like kind of with the kids, because they were doing a lot of activities, and there was a lot of, how it is, the
Yeah.
singing, dancing, the playing game, like soccer. They start soccer at 3, so they've been doing those things forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
he went
he went
back
black.
and worked at a firm while you started your own.
We started together, but he got hired by Airstreet, and he's
Mm-hmm.
still there since then. So like 15 years now. I don't know. I lost count, but yeah, it was much better because of the benefit. Like one of us needed like stable income, because it was like what, like all over the place, and it's not easy to have that kind of uncertainty.
Yeah.
So my mind is still like that, but at least we know like we can count on him. But I'm better at planning the long plan. Like once you own your firm, you know that you have to plan. Like when you have money, you always like spread it out, for
Mm-hmm.
what happened next month. So you never know, and you never know like there's a problem, the project's gonna stop, or the money's not gonna come. It all kinds of things can happen, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And it can happen in the bigger firms too. Hence
Oh
how the
my
recession happened and
God.
COVID. Like
Yeah.
you never
How
know.
many
You can only plan so far in advance.
how many projects I worked in the firm that did not happen? Like tons of it, because things happened and the money wasn't there and the client changed his mind. And anyway, it's normal. I think in our field, it's kind of bad to say. Even my husband, he worked on so many projects, amazing projects that still waiting. They don't know what's gonna.
Hmm.
It could happen tomorrow, and back to everything that they were doing a couple years ago. But
Yeah. But for them, they gotta, like, move a lot of people around. Like, for
yeah,
you, at least it's like, okay, I can pivot and be a little agile if the client wants to hold off for a couple months or see how something turns out.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
So it's kind of it's a lot to say because I just know, like that's not it's not an easy like you plan for one thing and things happen. You just have to adapt. That's part of life. And but one thing I knew, I did not want to change the industry. I had the opportunity. I had offers to, and that's the only thing I know is like I don't know how to do anything else. This is,
yeah.
this is how I see myself, and that's one of the reasons it was such a part of my identity to be an architect that being in this country, not being able to say I'm an architect, like I'm a designer because of the license part, it was so hard. Like okay, I need to get this like done so I can call myself an architect. Architect,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for those that are studying and are dealing with young kids at home? Like,
Well,
how
I
did you
you
manage that?
will not wait. You do it sooner. Because I think, to be honest, there was a lot of changes in the past few years that helped women, especially because the rolling clock is gone. It hit me. So I could tell not a half hour, just that, because I had to pretty much start over when I went to the new system.
Mhm.
Um, but also the fact that I mean, this is huge because if you start your process and you decide to have a baby in the middle, God forbid, like you take some years off and want to go back. So that's a big thing. They reduced the number of hours. When I was taking the exam, I started a long time ago. It was 5,800, something like way more, which is also a good thing. And the other thing is, we were not allowed to start taking the exams until we were done with the hours to the internship, which is crazy because that's when
Mhm.
exactly when women are hitting like a certain age of like getting married, having like now, why not finish school? No responsibilities. You don't have big like you have to pay your mortgage or anything like that. So you take time to study. It's too fresh. The ideas, like whatever you
Mhm.
learn, it's different when you take 10 years and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I tell everybody, if you can, don't wait. If you
Yeah.
do have kids, try to do small amounts of study in your routine, even though like it adds up. You'll be amazed how like even like yeah, some people can study 2 3 hours every day, but that's rare if you have kids and
Yeah.
study. So juggling the three things is like one of the hardest things. So that's what I did in the beginning. I wasn't like focused, but it would take me forever to do the exam because I was studying. By the time I finished reading everything that I had to read, it was like like I'm exaggerating, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like the same pace that I should be doing. Um, yeah. So, but it's better than nothing because you're always learning. You're always with the mindset of like absorbing information, and whenever you focus and you say, okay, this is not really gonna focus, you're not starting from scratch. You already have
Yeah.
all the background and the learning in your parents. So, and it helps you for career too. Like, why not study early so you can grow? Like, people know you're knowledgeable. People come to you in the office because they know you can do stuff.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to be asking questions like about fire rating walls because you know how to open the building code and find out. Like things like that. If you don't have a mentor or somebody in the office that'll be willing to take the time to explain to you, that's the good thing about the ARE. Like you learn that on your own because I learned so much, even though I had all these years of experience. I was like, this is so different than what I do. And especially
Mhm.
when you do residential. I tell everybody like try to work in a firm that does all the kinds of projects because the exams are more about the ISC, like the IBC, sorry, the
Mhm.
international building code, not the residential building code. So if you can get that experience in the beginning, so you're more familiar with what's in the exam. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that if you only do residential, it restricts you, like in the kind of project you've done, and so. that's another advice that I would give is like try to get that in the beginning sooner, and then you can change later and do smaller firms later. But I think it's, I don't know, that I think that helps, in general.
Yeah, because I know when I started the AREs and the hours, they had switched it so I could start taking the exams, and I actually got my exams done before my hours. But it was nice because you would learn things, and then it would come up in the office, and you're like, "Oh, I know what that is," and now you have a story behind it, or then you start getting further in your study, and you're like, "Wait, I have a story about that. It's happened to me before."
Yeah, yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's kind of full circle, but I didn't realize not until the last couple years, which I've been licensed for a while, but I started my career in commercial and I've mainly done commercial work and not realizing that how much the AREs are focused on commercial projects and the IBC until I started talking to residential architects
Yep.
that they're like, yeah, the exams don't set you up. And then I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm digging into residential details. I'm like, oh, I didn't hit that in like studying. So I feel like,
Yep.
as soon as I do some residential projects, it's like every time I do that, I feel like I'm relearning
Yep.
things because it's a different way of thinking. Different types of contractors do residential. It's a different way of building and what you do and don't have to do. Whereas I'm in like autopilot on my bigger commercial projects. And oh, I need all these things.
To be very honest, I never worked with a contractor in the residential industry that actually read the AI contract. Like, you study so much about those contracts, and then you go to real life, it's like, it's so different. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, the commercial ones, they do know more, but not the residential, because it's simpler for them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. But I think a big theme from your career is just it's being adaptable because there are so many things out of our controls in life and what happens that you have to be able to adapt and pivot to whatever's going on. I'm sure when you were at the BAC, you
Yeah.
weren't thinking about opening up your own studio.
I
So,
think that's the thing about the blessing disguise. Like, if I wasn't forced, like, because that was the only way I could survive those years that were um, during the recession, with starting my own thing. But you just learn so much. And the hard thing is, after you get used to the flexibility and the lifestyle of being an entrepreneur, it's harder to get back. The 9 to 5 for me is like, no, just I can't see myself in that environment. And I love people. I'm a very people person. You can tell. I love being around people. But I tell you about it. I like silence too. I like focusing and doing my own thing without people around me, noise and stuff. So I produce better in silence than around people. But I
mhm,
love that I have groups, I have communities, I have, so many other different groups that I meet you know, online so we can talk about architecture, but it's not like necessarily. And I have questions, I have consultants, I have people helping me in projects, but it's different, what I'm saying, than
yeah.
all the time. Like, I don't have a boss, I don't have somebody telling me this is what you should be doing, kind of, it's just, and I love the relationship with clients. People say, oh, this is so difficult. It's like, you never hear me complain about our clients because I feel like if you don't have a great relationship, like the project suffers.
Mhm,
And this is your focus better than it. Like the reason you're doing this project is because somebody needs you. And if you don't focus on the person more than the projects, like you're not gonna be successful in the business because it's about the person's dreams, aspirations, and what they need, not you. Then
mhm,
you show up and you say, "Hey, the best way to do that is this way." This way. So you guide them through the process, but you're not telling them this is what I want you to be doing. Like you listen, and
yeah.
I think that's my. I don't know. I think I wish I heard that from clients too, but like I care about them. Like I do the projects and I tell them like just like what for me, it was for my own family, it was like it was my own business. Like, this is the question. Like don't let somebody take advantage of like some of the contract and stuff like that. This is okay, this is not okay. I tell them like what I think they should be doing in terms of getting what they want, but understanding too like this project right now. She never told me the budget and the contract all over the place in terms of the budget. Like make sure that it's what you okay with it. Like, because it's not like, I don't want to feel pressure like, oh, we have to follow my design 100%. And you're going to be in debt with something like, oh, I spent all this money. I did have no idea. It's like, no, let's think about it now. Like, it's time to
Mhm.
plan and make the changes if you want to do to cut down things. I'm okay with that. Just like not, so I'd never move to construction document until I get that 100% that they're okay with the budget and all the products, like lighting, for example. It's one of those, can be 300, can be 3,000. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is way better quality, but your budget was this. So let's stick with something that would work that well, but it's not going to break the bank or be like too much. So I try to be very conscious about what they want, but at the same time, the budget concern.
Yeah, I always feel like architects should be trained as a guide and not so much like,
Absolutely.
yes, we need to have a design eye and understand construction and all these components, but clients aren't coming to us saying, I want you to design your favorite building and everything you want. It's no, we're a service to them. And if they want a particular style and it's not your cup of tea, you can either not select the project or
Yeah,
just
yeah.
guide them to where they need to go.
One
Um,
of the first thing I do is ask them to show inspiration image of what they have in mind. Then I meet them midway, like, okay, this is what I was thinking. Are you
mhm,
okay with that? And they might change their mind. They say, oh, I see your vision. Like, I'm okay with that. Let's go
yeah,
that way. So most of the time, that in the beginning avoid you. Just to give one example that I learned my first project ever with a client, uh, the fixtures in the bathroom was gold, like, and she said, I hate gold. And I'm like, why did I take the time to ask question at the beginning? So now I never go do the full project until I get that from the beginning.
mhm,
It's not a big deal, but I'm just giving a simple example. Like, I just did ask the question, like, do you have anything that you don't like and you don't want to see? Like, tell me now before I get involved in this and do way more than I'm supposed to.
yeah,
So,
then you don't have to redesign it or redraft it.
so there's a whole thing about briefing. Like, I have tons of questions to my clients in terms of everything, lifestyle, how they wake up, how they use the space, do you entertain, do you not? Like, it's a whole questionnaire because that's the only way I'm designing for what they need. Like, it's less parts, like it's for a big family, like, let's get a big fridge too, like, 48-inch, but instead of just everything was bigger, uh the kitchen island was big because there was a reason behind it. So it's not like
Mhm,
just because it looks better. No, after you function, that you have the function that is like it's there because it was like part of the understanding of the project, then you make it look amazing. But I never start with just this is gonna look amazing. I don't care if it's not gonna be useful or if you're not gonna, like, you have a dog. Where's the dog bag? Where, like,
yeah,
anything. There's so much questions to ask. And if you don't understand what are we doing? They're gonna go to ChatGPT and do like a crazy project doesn't make any sense to them because there was nobody listening,
yeah,
and like understanding and knowing how to change things for their own use.
yeah,
Sorry,
but
I
that
I don't
no,
I don't even remember what you asked me. I was like, I just went. I told you that I talked too much.
but that leads me into you're now going into year 4 of having your own firm, and so you mentioned, learning from that first project, but is there any other nuggets from those first 3 years that you really had a big learning experience that now you do from day 1 going into year 4?
Aside from the big learning, it's about the progressive learning curve.
Mhm,
Like in the beginning, there was a lot of like understanding. Okay, this is not a 3D firm. Like, this is totally different. This is not construction documents for an architect. So I had to set up a whole new system. I redid my website, my the logo and architecture was awesome. I had to understand what kind of firm I want to be. So
mhm,
one of the things when you're starting is like, what's my why? Why am I doing this? I can't be just like anybody else. I'm in Massachusetts. Why not hire somebody from Harvard or MIT that graduated from the big school? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying it's a very competitive environment, and it's because you can't be all things for all people, right?
Mhm.
And in the beginning, it's hard because you don't have a client yet, so you want to say yes to anything that comes in your way. But I had to be very careful not to do that, because I knew I wanted the kind of clients I want to work with. I knew I want to be kind people. I don't want to be with people that would bring me stress and be rude or like all about money and mistreat. Like I've seen people like that. I've seen those type of clients, and I'm like, now is my chance to kind of attract the people that like share my values. Be
Mhm.
honest, like not all values. Like what do you value? And I actually when I meet the clients for the first time, I present to them like, this is my mission, this is my value, those are my values, and they understand like the whole holistic approach to architecture is for the body, mind, and soul. Like we don't just build for the things, like just another beauty. And I know a lot of people are okay with just doing the permit set and just here, quick and dirty, and here. And I'm not gonna be probably that person for you. Like if you my
Mhm.
you came to me because there's something about design that moves you, that you appreciate. I grew up fortunately in a house, and my mom always hired architects, so that's where I understand from the beginning the difference of having somebody design a space and not just like that they really care about how we're gonna use it.
Yeah.
Um, and that I grew up also. My parents brought me to art gallery, music. Like I played the violin when I was young, so I appreciated good music. Like I went to concerts all the time with my dad growing up. So I always felt like architecture is like that combination of technology, the beauty industry, and the art part. Um, anyway, and I'm just saying that because you like as a client is hard because we're New England, everybody wants very traditional stuff that looks like all the art. And I'm like, how do I bring something that is unique?
Mhm.
I have all this other culture from Brazil. That is my superpower. This is like I'm unique, use me. And this is so easy when I work with clients that are Brazilian. They get me. There is no like I need to explain to you this is modern because no, they love it because that's their style too. Because
Mhm.
we're used to that. We don't have the like crown mode. Like we don't have crown mode in Brazil. Like we don't. I'm
Yeah.
not joking. At least it's just like it's different. So it's I knew I had to bring my why to kind of there was a lack of professional licensed professional in this industry, and I could supply that need, and they could understand. I could understand them, their needs, and speak the same language and all that. So I
Mhm.
think that would make me unique, but also bring the sex so that I have a different something different to offer, and that
Yeah.
if you're okay with that, let's go for it. The lessons learned is that you in the beginning you kind of love you have to define who you are, you have to find your why, and then kind of like every year you get better and you get better and your contracts are getting better. And this is how I can tell my last year was my financially was my best year. And that again, the same thing about the curve. You start if you need to, there's something you can hire help, find out what the things are. I know
Mhm.
I wasn't able to do that for construction documents yet, but there's other things that are in the beginning, even for I have somebody that does the Matterport. I don't know if you need the 3D rendering. So I
Yeah.
do the existing condition like that. So or somebody that can do SketchUp, that can help me to quickly show something to my design level for the client. So those are things that you start learning how to utilize your time by getting somebody else that could help it. But in the first year, it was all me. Second year, so you get to a point like you don't grow. You should always doing everything by yourself. So
Yeah.
that's part of the learning curve. But they improve your systems like every year. You get a little better, in everything you do. And I think like I'm not like sometimes, yeah, we still don't get the project. Not like every project is gonna happen, but let's say clients sometimes have no clue, never hired an architect before. They think they're gonna hire you, and then a month later, you're gonna show up with the whole project done. Like, what? Like.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, this is not how it works. There's a phase, this is the schematic designs. This is what I give it to you in this phase. This is like everything has to be approved before I'm moving to the next phase. So I have a whole presentation now, it's like a template.
Mhm.
So I kind of like go over everything in the beginning, like before I sign any contract, because there's no quick and like the design takes time. We need to like think about it. We need to present. You need to. I do rendering as part of my process. I need time to make sure that this looks great. You're gonna see the project and the client before it's built. You don't realize how like wonderful this is for the design process, for when you're making decisions. Like there's no surprise. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't know how this is gonna look like, and it's the best thing because in the if you go to a CAD file, like whatever, just like the hard, like the construction document set, they don't show the design as much as the rendering. They don't show the
Yeah.
lighting. They don't show all those stuff, that is gonna be make the space unique. So I in the beginning I thought it would be extra time, extra money for me, but best outcome. So I was like, if somebody was like cheaper, oh, can you cut something? It's like I can, but not the rendering because you're the first one to appreciate when you see it. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
see why. Like now, even when I go to construction site, they put the renderings on the walls because everybody working that space, this is like, oh, it should look like that. They know what it's
Yep.
supposed to look like. And I was like, okay, guys, I appreciate your rendering, but you need to put the construction documents on the wall. And both, because this is just like not everything's gonna be perfect there because you need to get
Yeah.
the
But you also started your practice when having a young family, and I've noticed that with talking to a lot of female architects. They find that time, whether it's a recession or not, is they need that flexibility to adjust, be able to pick up their kids,
yep.
and handle that. So, do you have any advice for parents that are firm owners or those that are thinking about going off on their own?
So you being specific about starting a firm, not working in a firm, having a kid, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Which
because
like
at that point, we talked about how projects can go up and down financially and all of the crazy journeys of starting your own firm, but
yeah,
sometimes it gives you that flexibility
yes.
to own
That's
your day.
the the key word, like flexibility. It's I hope nowadays that's not the case. You don't have to leave a firm because you don't have that in your firm. That's the first thing I had to say. Because one thing that COVID brought is this idea that you can work from home, that you can be productive. And
Mhm.
before, like, there was no way to show that it's possible. Now it's like, yes, we could see that happens. So that was a big thing. So I hope women are not leaving the profession because they're having kids. That's my biggest concern. But starting a firm, it's kind of interesting because in the beginning, when you're trying to figure out everything, and it takes way more time because everything's new. So it's not like you have to be okay with the uncertainty of financially
Mhm.
that if it's something that's gonna be a problem for you, it brings stress. Like it can be not a good thing unless you already have a project or a client that would be bringing the work. I did it without knowing, to be very honest. It was like a leap of faith. I tell
Mhm.
everybody, like, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to give it a try. And the worst thing that can happen is I go back to work in a firm. Like, there
Yep.
was no other, like, it was tight financially, yes, but it was like, just do what you can. Um, so it was not like give yourself grace. I guess that's one of my advice. Like, don't be too hard on yourself because you're already trying to do the biggest job in your life, which is raising kids. And I feel like when I did it was more that was more important than anything else.
Mhm.
And that's why I said like everybody's different. Some people can manage the 40 hours work and the kids and I had to cut down the amount of hours too. So yeah, the good thing is if you're licensed, you can add, you can make more money by the hour than somebody that is a dresser working for
Mhm.
somebody else, which was my case because there was a limit how much I could ask an hour. But as an architect, it's different. I can reduce my hours, but still maybe even make more money because I'm making 4 times more what I used to do before. So that's one of the things that getting licensed early helps in every way, because you can do better, um, work in your own time. You're writing the proposal. So
Mhm.
if you put yourself in that situation that is like you promised to do everything 2 months when it should take six, like, you learn. But that was in the beginning, there was some deadline that I was like, I wish I had given myself more time because I was working so many hours, like, okay, what am I doing? I don't have time for my kids. I'm not making that much money. I'm just like, it's like you don't know how to price in the beginning very well. So
Mhm.
that's what I said about the learning curve. You have to make sure that it works for your family financially, but also psychologically. You don't want to be stressed about it because it's not nothing's gonna be perfect. But again, even if you have a job, you can lose a job next day. Like
Yeah.
certain in life. Like everything is kind of like I just want to say, for me, what keeps me grounded is my faith. I have
Mhm.
routine that I've been doing for I don't know 80 years or more. I don't know how long, forever. To always wake up and have my time with God, like an hour that I spend in His presence and reading and the Word and kind of like reflecting and also being grateful. Like
Mhm.
the more I say thank you, the more things happen. And I don't need much. It's not like some people think that, you need to have tons of money. It's like success is sleeping well. It's the relationships you build. It's the family you build. Like the things I value is not necessarily the same that somebody else values. So like rising the newest car, like, this was not what I chose for my life, but defining what makes you successful, makes you happy. Like for me, they the money part is like I can donate. Like this is huge for
Mhm.
me. It's like just be a giver. Make me feel rich. More than the material stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that part because it's I'm not like, oh, you're successful because you made 100,000. No, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna define success in the business about the amount, the money. It's for me. It's going to Brazil for spend a month with my family, be able to
Mhm.
afford. Those are the things that I value, and that I can say that was a great year. The money, yeah, excellent. Like because I invest in myself so much, so I can charge more. I'm always studying. I'm always learning. I'm always giving more of me to the client. I'm not about the quantity of projects. I'm about less and better. That's
Mhm.
my focus too. I think that helps for the clients to say like, oh, I got great experience working with her. They usually become my friends at the end, like forever because it was such a good experience, and that for me is priceless. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
just
you're
saying,
spending that, like, quality time with somebody, and you give them the time they deserve for their projects. Because a
yeah,
lot of the times, we don't always have repeat clients. They don't always build multiple houses or multiple business
no,
locations.
most
Like,
of the time it's the
sometimes
only time they will ever need you in their life.
yeah,
Yeah, they're opening
it's
a firm.
it's
I
their
get
own
a lot of
baby.
I know, and I get a lot of the satisfaction of saying where I am in life now is actually where a lot of my clients who are immigrants, like they also been here for a long time, they are finally ready to do better in their business and open the commercial space that they were dreaming about forever. So it's like I feel like I'm realizing my dream through like I'm kind of
Mhm,
like in this role, like this is my purpose to help them out. And just I need to say this because I also feel blessed, I think that's the word, to be able to help others they are in the same journey, especially immigrants. Like we say that because we know it's a little harder for them, as I said, like in general, the whole path of becoming licensed here. Like a lot of things you study, you probably had that experience before, but for us, this is like starting over and the things that I mentioned. So I'm trying to do a lot of a monitor, like mentoring, and I like recently said, hey. you never read the AI contract. Let's do it together. So it's like, who is interested? Like, I can help show them, like, this is what is in the contract. Like, they probably never heard of it or never had
Mm-hmm.
experience or did feel fresh, like just starting. So things like that. Whatever I can do to help somebody else that was in my situation 20 years ago. It took me 20 years to see the first licensed architect that was living, like 20 years. And representation matters, to see
Mm-hmm.
somebody. And I love being part of the Argentinas too. I don't know if you heard about them.
Yep.
So yeah, it's about raising the number of Latinas architects in this country. So this is one of the things. Like, we're less than 1.7% of the whole, like, the entire country. There are licensed, there are Latinas, and, like, so we need more people to see it's possible. You can do it. I did a presentation at the AIA in San Francisco, and it's all about, like, telling people, like, you can do it too. So it was with the
Mm-hmm.
Immigrant Coalition. I don't know if you Graziella, you probably know
Yep.
her. Yeah, so great experience. So the book,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
And I was
talk
gonna
about
say
the
the
book now. The City Shaper. This is tells a lot of the stories of immigrant designers. So if you haven't seen it, it's really inspiring, and that all the flags here, you see how many countries are represented in this book. So that was one of the best experience that I had to be able to be part of it, because, like, we feel like we're in a mission. Like, let's help other people to get that done too. And one
yeah.
of the ways is to get a license. People think they restrict themselves what they can do. It's like, no, you are able to. I mean, of course, there's a lot of sacrifice, and not everybody wants to go through the hundreds of hours of study, but it's not because they can't, they're not competent. It's just because
Mm-hmm.
you need to have the mindset of somebody that will be licensed, because there's nobody limiting you. Just because you're from another country doesn't mean you less, or
Yeah.
you restricted, or no. It's all about the journey that you're gonna be for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've learned
I
so
mean,
much.
we talk about so much. Like, I told you, I don't remember the question anymore because I go, like, fully this direction.
Yeah, but I've learned so much by talking to immigrant architects because those countries and the different flags shown on that book are have a lot more significance to it when you understand a little bit about the process. I know I'm not from a different country, but understanding all the nuances and how certain countries can have different tracks and different ways to go about it, whether you got licensed in the other country, whether you finished your schooling over there, and what can count or not count.
Yeah.
And if you have to go the master's route or if there's alternative paths, and it's making those connections just so others have a way to ask the questions. Because if I come across somebody that is from Brazil and wants to be an architect, I'm calling you. And it's because you are also on that path and you are from that country. And I know somebody that's from Russia, somebody from Venezuela, like British Columbia, anywhere. And it's you have to find and connect the people that are also from those countries to help guide and mentor, because sometimes there's only so far somebody can take you without knowing your unique challenges and circumstances.
Yeah. But I gotta say, you're doing a great job with everything you're doing in terms of helping the mentor generation of architects, all the mentoring that you offer, the community you're building. I think the best way to also learn from people they are from here, this is how we do it here. That's what it says. Like, if you practice architecture here, it's all about here.
Hmm.
I understand you bring some baggages, you bring some knowledge and some inspiration, but at the end of the day, it's how, like, the building code works here, the weather works. So totally forget what you learned before and adapt. Because even if you go to California, it's gonna be different. If you go to, like, it's all
Hmm.
about, it's actually very local at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So we have to make sure that it works for the reality that you are in, like, you're working on. So
Yeah.
but
And that's a great lead in to my final question that I always ask. And it's, what advice do you have for young professionals just starting their careers?
oh wow. All right. This career it's not an easy one. We all know that. But I gotta say, everyone has their own journey. So don't you compare yourself with anybody else. Things are gonna be different and unique. for each person. It's okay to explore. It's okay to switch. In the middle, like there's so many different niches within a sector nowadays that you can kind of specialize in one thing because you like that better than others. Like there's the AI, there's it's more um like building science. Like there's so many different things that you can choose to. So explore in the beginning, as I said, like try to work with firms that do different types of jobs so you can even explore the building sites you like because maybe you might be a person that loves healthcare and that's your thing. Some people want to do schools, and I like that about architecture. Is like you don't need to know everything, but you can be really good at one thing that you pick. But allow yourself in the beginning to explore that and go for
Hmm.
the job that do offer that experience too. Find mentors if you can, right? That's why you come to people like you. If you don't have somebody in the office, go for like communities, like be part of communities that do offer those incentives. Surround yourself with people that want to see you grow. Like that's one thing about the AREs. I always said I had the best group of friends that were with me in the journey that we really focused in getting like they understand me better than my own friends here because it's such a crazy lifestyle to be studying for this exam that and the ups and downs and not passing and supporting each other.
Hmm.
So kind of like having that community and have friends that will be by your side. I think it's a big one. I mean, they be curious. I think that's one of the biggest things too. Always want to learn, always explore, always in terms of knowledge. Don't be like there's so much resource out there right now. Don't trust ChatGPT to give you all your answers. Like you need to be the one explaining to a client one day. So just getting that information ready, it's just a way for you understand. But it's like you need to be the person that one day will be telling somebody else that. And
Yep.
it's okay to adjust to, as I said, like sometimes, you're gonna work 40 hours a week. Sometimes you're gonna work 60 because of the deadline. But don't make that your normal. That's the thing. Like in our industry, like people normalize like working 60 hours a week. Like now, like it's okay in the beginning when you kind of like, you're still learning a lot and but get paid. I hope for that, you know. Yeah. So this a lot. It's a great profession at the end of the day. Is that easy? As I mentioned, no, not at all. But if you're not passionate about it, like don't go. It's not about the people want to make tons of money because we know that. Like it's the more like you're gonna be comfortable, you're gonna do well, and if you open your firm, I hope you do one day and bring your own voice and kind of be that person that bring uniqueness to the industry because we need diversity. We need people with different voices in this industry. We are richer. Uh, like the architecture is richer in terms of
Hmm.
what we can offer because of it, because of what culture can bring and add to the value of architecture.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody has any questions for you, or is in Boston and wants to meet up, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
All right, that's a good question. So I have my Instagram account, which is Triplett Studio. So you can message me through that. My email, lucianat@triplestudio.com too. If it's something that you want to send me. Resumes. I'm always interviewing. Just make sure that if somebody out there want to work the same way as I mentioned, like part-time system, but do projects that are a little more design oriented. If you're that person, contact me. But yeah, I think those two ways are should be enough. Email and
Yeah,
the Instagram account. I mean
yeah,
LinkedIn, of course. I'm there, Luciana Triplett. You can find me on LinkedIn too.
yeah. And I'll leave your LinkedIn and your website down below in the show notes, just so
Okay.
it's super easy for everybody to find you.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
But thanks, Luciana, for taking the time to speak with me today.
That was great. I appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I hope it was helpful to whoever is listening to this.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. Learn some advice to take with you and see how our industry is all tied together to create the world around us. Check out the description below for any links or resources we discussed. If you liked the episode, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support finding that career path that best works for them. If you know someone that has inspired your own career that you'd like me to interview, let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me via my website or LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share their story or your own. Thank you again, and I cannot wait for the next career story I get to share with you next week.